Now, landing on the moon was one of mankind's greatest scientific achievements. But no human being has been back on its surface in exactly 45 years. Now, as other countries set their eyes on the moon, Donald Trump has ordered NASA to revive its manned space exploration program. President Trump is following the steps of another US president whose name became synonymous with the initial drive to reach the moon.
We shall send to the moon 240,000 miles away from the control station in Houston, a giant rocket more than 300 feet tall. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
President John F. Kennedy there. Well, with me now is astrophysicist and space journalist Sarah Cruddas. Welcome to you, Sarah. So, man hasn't been to the moon for 45 years. Why not? And do we really need to go back?
Well, I think it's important to point out, first of all, that it's 45 years since humans have been, but Trump isn't the first president. Trump isn't the first president to actually say we should go to the moon. The reason we went to the moon in the first place was because we were in the Cold War. You had the USSR and you had America, and both at the time wanted to show they could do a big thing well. Space was that big thing. Kennedy set this goal of going to the moon when the Americans were losing in the space race. They won, but because it was about politics, there wasn't really the public appetite or the finances to do it. We've had presidents since, so we've had Reagan, both of the Bushes, and even Obama set targets for human, for crewed space exploration deeper into space. What President Trump is doing is nothing new, but what we're seeing right now is a real pendulum shift in the way that we explore space. I mean, the Apollo moon landings back in 1969, you could think of them as the Columbus moment. They can make the comparison with American history. Now we're in the Mayflower moment in terms of you're seeing businesses coming in, entrepreneurs and new ideas. So should we go back to the moon? And we will. It's likely because of public-private partnership, not just because of countries doing it on their own.
All right, let's just hear what President Trump had to say when he made this announcement. Here it is.
This time, we will not only plant our flag and leave our footprint, we will establish a foundation for an eventual mission to Mars and perhaps someday to many worlds beyond.
Now, NASA already spends $4 billion, I think, don't they, at the moment? How much is it going to cost to get man back on the moon, and what's the advantages? What do we actually want from that mission?
Well, I think going to the moon is the next step in becoming a multi-planetary species. It sounds like science fiction, but we're just this one planet, which is one of literally millions and millions which exist elsewhere in the universe. So humans are built to explore, they're built to be curious, they're built to go over the hill. Yes, it's expensive, but I'd ignore the government spending because it's the private industry, the likes of Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. It doesn't cost you or I a penny. They're actually pushing forward the boundaries. So yes, we will return to the moon. European space agencies talked about a moon village to come after the International Space Station, which is really the furthest we've really travelled in space in the last few decades or so. But in terms of going back to the moon, there's the potential there to use water on the moon to act as an intergalactic petrol station, so to speak, because frozen water makes up the key ingredients for rocket fuel. You can fill up and then travel deeper into space. And if we do want to go to Mars, if we want to become a multi-planetary species, which is where we're aiming for, just as we've explored our own Earth, the moon is that next step. But it's not just going to be governments, it's going to be private industry as well, which is really driving forward that innovation. And you forget the main reason we went into space is about life on Earth. Think of the benefits in technology, the rate that technology has expanded thanks to space exploration. We will get huge benefits that we can't even imagine yet as we continue to push into space.
India and China, of course, have both said they want to put man back into space, back on the moon as well.
Or woman.
Or woman, of course.
It's about humans now.
Absolutely. How are we looking at a new space race now?
We're looking at a different type of space race. So we're never going to see another Apollo again. It's not right to compare what President Trump has said today with JFK. What we're seeing is a new era in space exploration where space is becoming more accessible. China, at the time of the moon landings, was languishing under the Mao regime. They've now sent a rover to the moon. They're planning on sending a rover to the far side of the moon. So more countries are realising the benefit of space exploration.
Sarah, in terms of getting man or woman to Mars, what kind of time frame are we realistically looking at?
I think I know it's a bit of a cop-out, but it's too difficult to say at the moment, because if you look at when Kennedy announced we should go to the moon, in the space of less than a decade, humans were able to achieve the impossible, and technology increases at rapid rates, and we'll see that increasing even faster with private industry. Within our lifetimes, within the next 50 years, we should hopefully see human footprints on Mars, and that will just change the framework of the way that we know life as we know it on Earth.
Change the world, won't it? Absolutely amazing. Sarah, really interesting to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
Now let's just